Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just is, isn't always just is. And yet, the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one.
Good evening. I'm sure you, well, if you haven't heard them in the past couple of seconds, let's see. There have been fireworks going like for the last 30 or 40 minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some that you'll hear peeking through, but good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Double Red Doors. Oh my God, no, my logo is not showing. How will anyone know? All the new people. I removed the logo because I was live streaming Soma. Didn't want to have that logo there confusing everybody. You'll see I'm in patriotic mode this evening. My hair is completely out of control. I've got to do something about it. I had a choice to make about 20 minutes before going on air, and that was put a bunch of crap in my hair and my beard, or don't. And I went with don't. So it's, I mean, there's still a little bit, there's still crap in it actually from, but that's just the normal crap that I put in it, not the live streaming crap. But really, like, my beard now is at the point where it's starting to get pretty scraggly. It's all, you know, losing its ability to be straight. It's just growing in whatever direction it wants, and I'm not a fan of that. Got a new camera. Well, not a new camera. It's an old camera, but new view there. I don't know what good that view is for anybody. I just wanted to have that camera set up for the next time we do like a giveaway or something. And I'm doing some sort of selection process. That would be the selection process cam. But anyway, let me say howdy to everybody. Howdy to everybody. Q is always Q and Nasha, NKJ, Skilgrim, hi, Ms. Lady Nervar, Pavi, Nick just got out of classes. Flaglo. Glad you're here, Flaglo. I know you're probably going to have to leave soon because you tend to duck in and out. Y'all are talking about cats. Just skip past all that because I don't care about cats. Hi, Levy. PG is here. Xava is here. Don't track me, bro. Not sure who you are. Hello. Welcome. The wrench icon would be mods. Probably was already in. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, Nasha answers it immediately after. KJ, good evening. No, evening for me. Camila Cabral, hi. Don't recognize you, so welcome if this is your first time, and if... Oh boy, it's not your first time, is it? Because I see you speaking to Nasha as if you all are familiar, so I apologize. Aw, Q, thanks. Well, that's appropriate. No, I'm not self-bullying. I'm genuinely right. Like, I mean, people, your hair gets to a weird length when it starts to do stuff you don't want it to do. When it's in the process of becoming. My hair is in the process of becoming, and as it becomes, it must go through transformation. And some parts of that transformation are not pretty. But my beard, I just got to get rid of. Not get rid of, but trim. KJ, oh shoot, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And I know this. I just didn't think, honestly, I didn't even think about it. I do know this because, well, I went for a decade to a very patriotic religious school where we had, flag salute every morning, where we had to take down the flag and fold it properly lest we get a ruler slapped across the back of our hands. It wasn't that bad. It was, well, so they put like pepper under your tongue, or they threatened to do a lot of stuff. They threw a stapler. There's a lot of performative threats of corporal punishment, but I don't know that I actually ever got any. Here's a not funny story that I must have told before. I'm sure I have. I'll tell it real quick. When I was in second or third grade, I discovered that you could bypass the lock in the bookstore cabinets by lifting it up off the hinge and pulling the bottom of the door out, and it would just be off. It would come off the like a track, sliding glass door track. So I would go, and I would be dropped off at school relatively early. And I was dropped off with someone who lived in my neighborhood that I didn't like. He was a year younger than me, but that's not why I didn't like him. I didn't like him because he had two older brothers that used to always pick on me. But anyway, so I was in the habit of totally not into football in any way, but I got in the habit of stealing those pencils. I don't even know if they still make them anymore, but they would be football team pencils. They would just have the logo of the football team, and the pencil would be the color of the football team, and they were highly prized in the school at the time. So I would steal them and I would sell them. And one morning at flag salute, while standing in, our ordered lines, saluting the flag, which should have the field to the left, and I can properly fold one as well. The principal announces that she has some bad news to give to the school. And that news was that someone had been stealing from the school bookstore. And I fainted. I passed out. I woke up in the principal's office, confessing, like begging forgiveness. I was so scared. And it took them a few minutes because I assumed, I passed out when they announced that someone was stealing from the school bookstore. They're going to know that it was me. They didn't know it was me. They just thought, because here, bingo time. Miami is hot. You know, you're standing outside during flag salute. Sometimes kids pass out. You know, that just happens. They didn't make that correlation. But to me, when I regained consciousness, I was like, oh, God, there's no use me, trying to talk my way out of this now. So they're there wondering if I'm okay. And they've called my mom and all this stuff because they're wondering what's wrong with me. And I'm there just going, I'm sorry. And and I actually think I don't recommend faking. It's not going to work if you're an adult. If you get caught for breaking the law and you're an adult and you fake fainting to try and get sympathy, it's not going to work. And I didn't fake faint either. This was a real faint. But I think the fact that they were just glad that there wasn't some syndrome causing syncope in me was enough that they were like, okay, and also stop stealing from the bookstore. And then I remember and I was like, look, y'all should fix your locks. The locks are not good. Because my fear at that point was that somebody else was going to start stealing from the bookstore and they would assume that it was me. So I kept trying to get them to either, lock the door to the bookstore, which they did at night, but then the janitor or the I think it was the janitor would unlock all the doors in the morning when the kids arrived. But I was sort of like, for the rest of my years at that school, I was like a guardian of the bookstore because I was just afraid that anything that ever got stolen from the bookstore from that point on, I would immediately be the first on the list of suspects. That's my story as to why the field is not properly. If you're behind the curtain, it's right. Anyway. Do I just use one monitor for my setup, or is it the angle? I have an external monitor, which only monitors my video feed. But yeah, my main monitor, my computer is iMac Pro, so I just use that. I don't have an external monitor for it. Hi, Whispering Wolf, Nicole Russell, new person or new avatar? Dante Rosa, also new person or new avatar. I don't remember names that well. I remember avatars pretty well. Lexi is here. Hello, Lexi. LQ Flores. Oh, lurking. Well, you're not lurking. You just said hi. Nick, how are you doing? Wow. Great. Yeah, this is kind of the long beards are hard to pull off. They're really hard to pull off without getting that wizardly look. I don't have the physique for the lumberjack look, so I'm going to have to trim it a bit. Caitlin Robichaud. How do you say this? Robichaud? Hi from my sister and I. Hi, Caitlin and your sister. Reminds me of the song You and Your Sister, which was originally by Big Star, or rather Chris Bell from Big Star, later covered brilliantly by Kim Deal from The Breeders as part of the supergroup, this Mortal Coil. If you have not heard the song, I recommend it. Yeah. Grow up periods suck. I could imagine this, Nick, right? Yeah, that makes sense. At a religious elementary school, I guess they possibly didn't care quite as much about the flag, but they were pretty stringent about it, and they treated it, with the respect that it accorded. And certainly for me at the time, I viewed it as sort of sacrosanct, and I don't anymore. The flag, the crucifix, the cross. I have no regard for anything. Isra Khan, your commute home from work, that's awesome. I'm glad to be able to hopefully make the time. Maybe it'll make your commute seem longer. I don't know. In which case, I apologize. Oh, Nicholas. Well, somebody started early. That I can see that I can see Xava was called Morticia during all of college, and yeah, very very pale, kind of delicate features. Oh man, Nasha, no, I was like a kleptomaniac. I wasn't a kleptomaniac. The statute of limitations is up on all this shit, so I liked trying to game the system, right? So when I started working at, I mean, we've talked about this before, but there's always that period between the introduction of new technology and when they finally get the security down for that technology, where there's that window of exploitation. And before the internet was the internet, you could go on boards and learn all these lovely ways you could rip off UPS and order stuff and have it delivered to empty houses and pick it up with forged credit cards that I would sometimes get from the electronics boutique that I worked at when I was 15. Lied and said I was 16. Electronics boutique became EB Games, became GameStop, became, does it even exist now? I don't even know. But we used to, if there was somebody who annoyed us, we would sometimes use an imprint of their credit card to order stuff on UPS. I'm whispering this so nobody hears this. To order stuff from UPS and get it sent to an empty house. And it used to be that you could get UPS to just leave stuff at an empty house, and they wouldn't need to get anyone to sign for anything. But that's when, that's that window wherein technology was not, had not yet caught up to the ability to commit fraud. Stuff like, and you remember when the hot new thing was motion sensors, and some bright, bushy-tailed, tech-savvy person thought, well, you know what? We could put a motion sensor inside the doors of this secure area so that the door will open for people inside, because the motion sensor will detect them, but it won't open for people outside because they won't be able to activate the motion detector unless almost always there was some small gap in these doors, and you could stick a palm frond. I'm saying a palm frond because of where I'm from. Anything in between those doors, wave it around a little bit, and they'd pop open. Oh, and remember Louvre doors? They still have them occasionally, right? Houses built in the 50s and 60s, would have doors with the louvered windows, and you could just bend a piece of them back and slide one of the slats of glass out, and then, I don't know if you can do this anymore, but at one point anyway, you could then reach your hand in and, undo, as long as it wasn't a deadbolt, you could undo the lock. Yeah, I did stuff like that a lot. And then used to Freak. Does everybody know? Anyone remember freaking with PH to get free phone calls before everybody had a phone. Avril Haines is Biden's nominee for... Anyway, used to freak. Used to look up people in my high school directory who I didn't like. And me and a couple of friends might go to their house and open up... We'd go to Radio Shack. This is back when there were Radio Shacks. You could get the alligator clips. You could get the hand terminal. I forgot, you might have needed something. You needed a tone generator. It's just a pad, just generated the same tones you'd get on an old touch-tone phone. You could go to their house. There used to be this number. It was called a pack number. I don't know why I remember this. It's crazy that I'm telling these stories out of nowhere like this. But there used to be a number that you could call, and it was for technicians. The purpose was for technicians. You could call a number from this number, and all it would do was repeat the number back to you. So and the reason for this is at those green boxes for landlines in every neighborhood, you don't necessarily know which terminals correspond to which phone numbers of the houses. So we'd open up one of the green boxes. We'd connect these alligator clips to these terminals. We would call the number that was in the directory. Or actually, no, you wouldn't have to call the number. There was a DPAC number that you would call. That's what I'm talking about here, or a PAC number. And then it would read back to you. You would just hear an electronic voice saying a number. And that was the number you were calling from. And we'd match it against, we'd have to go through. Sometimes there were a dozen or 2 dozen lines in this green box. And we'd wait until we got to the one that was the person that we didn't like. And then we would call something like 976 duck. There used to be these, $3 a minute sexually risque phone numbers you could call. And there would just be recordings of women speaking sultrily. But it'd be like $3.99 a minute or something like that. So we would call them, and then we would just take the terminals and connect them, to sort of dead connect them to each other so that it couldn't be hung up. And then we just leave. And then, the next morning they would have been on 976 duck for 8 hours or so. They would pick up their phone line in their house. Someone would be on, they would hear it, right? They couldn't hang it up. They'd call the telephone company and get it out there, and then did stuff like that until I turned 18. And then once I turned 18, I've been very good ever since then. Hi, Lisa. It's good to see you. Václav. Lady Nervar. I don't know if I said hello to you or not, but hi. Oh, Nicole. Thank you for joining. Hope you don't find it too boring. It's a lot of, what's every podcast is talking. So, I do some small amount of diligence and try to check out what other people are doing. And if they're not very specifically themed live streams, right? Like we're going to talk about every serial killer from this time to this time, or we're going to talk about all the ways in which we could do like all the ways you get ripped off. If they're not strongly themed, a lot of these live streams and podcasts tend to end up becoming their own. Like they got to get content from somewhere, and eventually they end up cannibalizing their own content. Oh my goodness. Almost. Gross. And then it starts to be a whole bunch of insider baseball. I'd like to avoid that, but who knows? Might already be there. in which case I apologize. I do have something I want to talk about tonight. I just want to get to it. Let's see. I want to be sure to say hi to everybody. A new 742. Who did? I had to salute every morning. Every morning flag salute, every morning church, every Thursday mass, and sacred studies every day where the priest would throw a stapler. Flaglo was gone. Hopefully he's back now. This is a good opening. I should have just started with that. If I had any idea I was going to mention that, I would have started with that. Holy crap, is this the John Anthony that I know? Because then you might be able to verify or discount some of these stories that I've been telling. If y'all are into unintentional ASMR and or into interesting theories about, say, the origin of oh man, who actually wrote Shakespeare's? Is it just the sonnets or is it everything? I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go check. But check out John Anthony's channel. Anthony is. I've talked about him on this podcast before, actually. I'm assuming this is the same person, and I know that what he'll probably say is episode 23. He's long associated things with the number 23, and I remember getting in discussions with him about why perhaps the number 23 might be more prevalent than other numbers. And the best theory I could come up with was it would probably be the second most double-digit number that you would see apart from 12, right? Because in any sequence of numbers, you're going to see 2, 3 because they're consecutive. It's a low enough number that it actually is probably used in, things like apartment buildings or groups of things, right? There were a bunch of rationales I was trying to come up with as to why the number 23 seemed to come. This is, by the way, this way predates Jim Carrey's movie, The Number 23, or even if there was a book that was based on, predates that. But I'm sure that Anthony will find it interesting that he's tuning in and it's episode 23. Is it episode 23 even? Yeah, this is episode 23. Crikey. This is a good question, Václav. I think Pavi has avoided being interviewed for 23 episodes. It's like 80 hours. Get the heck on here. All right. I might have to have the mods silence Anthony. If there's any Anthony, don't give away too much stuff. So this is a guy. I grew up with this guy. I idolized him. I met him. He walked into Electronics Boutique, like 6'2", something like that. Really thin, but like lanky thin, like a thin, but could still, throw a punch. Very, very pale and very sort of elfin features, I suppose. And very into, cyberpunk. It got me, I don't know. I don't remember if Anthony got me into cyberpunk or if I was already into cyberpunk. I think I might have already been into it, but not to the degree that I got into it as a result of him. Anyway. Yeah, I guess I better catch up here. Yeah, see, this is, oh boy. Oh boy. Is it, what, MCI codes, is this the thing that you would call? Now, see, now this is turning into too much insider baseball. I forget some of the terms. Let's see. Look, I don't break the law. I don't break the law anymore. I haven't in a long time. Intentionally. I haven't intentionally broken the law in a long time. Which is probably... There's so many freaking laws. Anyway, so today, at around... Yes, Shakespeare authorship question, right? Sorry. At noon, it was shortly after noon, right? Kamala Harris, it's Kamala Harris, it's not Kamala Harris, became the first female Black Asian vice president. And Joe Biden became another old white dude president. I admit, right, I was not expecting much from the inauguration. I knew I was going to watch it. I felt like I had to, but I wasn't expecting to feel anything from it, but I did. I think I just realized that there had been this low-level anxiety and tension and anger, and I was completely astounded, flabbergasted, low-level flabbergastion at the fact that the president of the United States was Donald Trump. And I feel like it normalized so much other horrible behavior and modes of thinking that I wasn't even aware of, that it wasn't until those things were removed, which they were today, obviously, that I realized that they were there. So I actually got pretty emotional, like watching, and especially I thought Amanda Gordon who is the youth Nobel or the youth poet laureate. I'm not sure exactly what her title is, but I thought her poem was fantastic. The internal rhyme schemes and the grace of her movements were, I mean, I was pretty mesmerized watching that. It was really weird. Every time they'd announce like somebody who I didn't know who was going to talk, there was that guy that would come up and wipe down the podium. And I kept thinking, I didn't think that guy looked like that, right? So I caught on after a couple. I realized that was not Amy Klobuchar. But Joe he got through his speech. Then he came to Arlington Cemetery, National Cemetery, which is about less than 2 miles from here. And now he's back at the White House. And apparently while he was doing, it's like they were Weekend at Bernie's-ing him, or I'm Alan Partridge-ing him, where they were like, you want to go to the White House? Well, let's make a few stops before we take you to the White House. Let's go to Arlington, and then we'll go, you could do like we'll take you on like a different, we know you've been like a congressman for 36 years or whatever, but why don't or you've been in the Senate, let's take you on another Capitol tour. It's like they were kind of postponing as they had movers frantically I was when I was watching CNN, which I do sometimes watch CNN, but then I will also watch other news sources. It's not just CNN. But I was watching CNN and I thought it was really funny how they kept, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but they really stressed how it was all new betting. They kept, I feel like I don't remember who the host was, but she kept talking about how they were changing all of the bedding, every mattress, every linen, everything to do with bedrooms and bedding. And Jill and Joe Biden share a bedroom, whereas Melania and Donald, I'm just going to call him Donald. I think Donald is probably I hope nobody is named Donald in the chat, but it almost sounds pejorative just saying Donald. I wonder if his dad called him Donald when he was cross with him for putting too many windows. Oh dear. Putting too many windows in a new building, making the cost of electricity 0.6% more than it needed to be by giving people the ability to see outside. Cheers. It's for all you mouth sounders out there. So I was moved. I realize there is no one more establishment than Joe Biden. I realize that the nomination was stolen from Bernie. My opinion, the opinion of a lot of people and mine as well, that the nomination was stolen from Bernie Sanders by the Democratic Party. When I think back to that month where Bernie Sanders went from being so far ahead in the primaries and all of the speculation that it just seemed like it was all over bar the shouting. And then all of a sudden South Carolina happened and it was just like, the checks finally cleared and all of a sudden Joe Biden was the nominee. But I just want to get us closer to zero, right? Like I'm happy just getting closer to the threshold where I'm able to, and everybody else, right, is able to complain about things like, well, we live in a corporatocracy and, the top 0.1% control 99% of the wealth and all those normal conversations that I'm used to having, as opposed to conversations like, did you hear the president seditiously incited a riot inside the U.S. Capitol this week? Did you hear the president called a notoriously unstable world leader who may or may not have nuclear powers, little rocket man, and called him short and fat? And did you hear that Melania is actually championing an anti-bullying campaign when she's actually married to and complicit in the action? I'm sorry, I'm playing with this too much. I'll put it over there. The actions of literally the world's largest, not physically, right? Although I'm not gonna, no, body shaming is not, his size has nothing to do with this, but I mean on the scale of the world, he's the biggest bully in the world. He's the biggest bully in the world, and his wife's chosen raison d'etre for her first lady cause is to eliminate bullying. And at one point, I really thought that she was, that she hated him, hated everything he stood for, and was probably just, biding her time, had maybe signed some sort of, via some contractual obligation, was required to stay with him through the tenure of his presidency, maybe for a certain number of years, maybe until Barron reaches a certain age. It's really weird, too, when they went to Marine One today, Barron was not with them. I assume he was in school, I guess. Just seemed odd. But now I think she's nowhere near as bad as he is, but she's still a non-entity. Oh, this is sweet. Yes, Neuromancer was definitely the gateway. William Gibson was the gateway to the Snow Crash, Blade Runner world that, as youngins, I think we both wished we lived in. Oh shit, Q, you're right. Look at you calling me out. But see, this is me. But now I'm apparently Home Depot is very litigious, and if they catch you trying to steal, they will prosecute you. But yes, I did the very rug I'm on. Let's see. Oh, you can't see it there. Can you see? No, you can't. There's no way to see it. But the rug that I'm on right now, I did not pay for this rug. Yeah. Hey, express checkouts. There's got to be an expected amount of loss control, and you give people plausible deniability. And I was buying a lot of stuff, and so I felt like I was just gonna kind of see what happened, and if they said, "Hey, what about that rug?" then I would be like, "Oh, yes, the rug, of course." So that was kind of passive theft. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do this from time to time. Stuff like that, I guess. All right, let me get to the bottom of the... Donald Duck wears no pants. It is bizarre. I feel like I genuinely have trouble picturing what Donald Trump would look like naked. Like, I'm not sure. Well, I don't want to get into this because I don't want to get into talking about people who are overweight or not overweight. But I don't really know. Like, he conceals a lot, so it's difficult to know. Exactly, Nasha. This is right. Bernie can still win. So I was listening, of course, I was listening to Noam Chomsky today, who was giving his 2 cents. And Noam Chomsky is now 92 years old. He won't be with us much longer. And it's unfortunate because he seems to still have, with the exception of speaking slowly, he seems to have all of his cognitive powers still about him. Although there is this idea that, even if he's lost 10 to 15% of his cognition, he'd probably still, be well above being able to pass as brilliant. What was I talking about? So I was listening to Noam Chomsky today, and he was talking about, the whole Bernie Sanders deal. And he actually, which is not, I want to say it's kind of atypical for him, he had a very positive outlook on Bernie Sanders and what Bernie Sanders has done for the country, in that Bernie Sanders has pushed a progressive agenda that would have been unthinkable 20 years ago. And the very fact that you can say that a democratic socialist is even a possibility for a democratic socialist, someone who self-avows themselves, a self-avowed democratic socialist. I mean, that was, can you imagine in the 60s, like well, you guys can't imagine the 60s, McCarthyism, and can you imagine like admitting to being a socialist? You would be a pariah, you would be gone. So he has shifted the needle regardless of whether or not he actually got into office or not. But it's good. We've got we've got the Senate is now an even split, and the House is in control of Dems as well. The Senate is an even split, but Kamala Harris breaks the ties. So there you go. Right. Well, I'm hoping, he's going to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. However, as PG would gladly volunteer, the steps that we're taking towards climate change aren't likely to move the needle. And I'm not going to say move the needle anymore. It's so jargony. It's just kind of sticking out in my head today. I don't know why. I think this has a lot to do with it. Like I'm not as ashamed to be an American today as I was yesterday, and not as ashamed. There's a lot. There are a lot of reasons to be. I'd like to hear more about this, Michael. What makes you think that the U.S. will collapse? I understand that obviously there is a huge divide between the so now it's like we've got progressives, Democrats, GOP Republicans, and Trump Republicans, and I don't know, the Tea Party is somewhere in the mix there, in between. I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like the exact sort of methods that one might rail or rally against to control a population, giving people entertainment, allowing people to blow off steam, creating diversions so that they can just get on with their lives and eventually die or get aged to the point where they're no longer quite as energetic or eager to get out there and cause some damage. I feel like, in a way, these last 4 years, like that was the tinderbox. I admit this is an optimistic way of looking at it, but there are two ways that this could go, right? One is the Trumpian movement gains in steam over the next 4 years. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it was the Trumpian movement was the result of what this bubbling under of anger at liberals and even neoliberals, and that was it, and that electing Trump was the thing. I would love it if it would be great if that were the case. Of course, who knows? I didn't even know Melania was a birther, Nasha. I'm with you on this, Mike. Very good, Nicholas. All right, let me get to the end here so we can. Jessica. Oh, hi, Jessica, by the way. Yeah. He didn't look like he was having a good time. But he sounded like it. Oh, I didn't know this either, Vincent. The second, third, and fourth worst ranked presidents in the terms of favorability were Dems. Well, the Democratic Party has changed a lot over the last 50, 60 years, so I guess I'm not that surprised. Oh, Mike. All right, so it's going to be food. This is reductionist, I think, a little bit, Michael. I would argue point 3 a little bit, because it is true that, like, I mean, I largely agree with it, and I think that even the perfect example of what you're talking about there is Obama, right? Oh, everyone was so charmed, and I think, also rightfully proud that we could elect a black president, and he was such an amazing, and is like such an amazing statesman, that he was able, and this kind of goes to what we were talking about last week, where, like, imagine if Donald Trump, like someone with the moral turpitude of Donald Trump, had all of the charm and intelligence of Obama, right? You'd have a monster. I don't think that you can compare Obama and Trump from a moral standpoint at all. But I do think, I mean, it's true. You can just see by his actions while he was in office, Obama was barely liberal, and he. I mean, he was it the 23rd. What I forget what the ability to basically treat American citizens as terrorists, and not even have to give a time frame. Like, basically, he made it so that anyone under suspicion of terrorism, American citizens living in America, American citizens living in America, if you were suspected of terrorism, you could be detained indeterminately. And I forget what that is. I forget what section or what amendment that was. But that it hasn't been invoked the way that yet, right? The way that people thought it might be. And I say yet because, maybe that'll start some point in the near future. But he did a lot of things that eroded personal rights, but he did it with flair. Excuse me. Yeah, but this is not. I mean, I do believe that this is largely the result of the last 4 years. I mean, there is that terrible, terrible devil's bargain that any country must make in dealing with America, and that is, you don't know if any promise that is made to you will be kept by the next president, and in some cases even by that president. But it is, I mean, there is something to be said for, there's pros and cons to term limits, right? So, but basically, if somebody says, I mean, the fact that you only have like a 4-year guarantee essentially on anything, no matter how big of a deal it is, you've got 4 years, if that, before someone could come just undo everything. And that tends to be the way that it happens, right? I mean, very rarely is there like a string of Democratic presidents or a string of Republican presidents. Certainly in recent history, it seems to be, volley, return, volley, return, volley, return. I think that's reductionist too, but this is not a bad prediction. I mean, you could argue the same about Mitt Romney. But if people want a younger person, they want a... By the way, if you're here and you're listening and you're enjoying what you're listening to, please don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Smash it. I'm going to hit that a bunch of times. I'm hitting it. And I love that joke that every YouTube channel makes now. And if you don't like it, be sure and hit the dislike button twice. Fucking Jesus. I'm so hung up on reaction videos. Somebody help me. Xava, the scary part, I think, is that those 4 years of Trump made an extremely effective demonstration about fanaticism. I'm not sure. I mean, ultimately, it blew up in his face, didn't it? This is what I'm hearing, Isra, is that Ron DeSantis is going to be sort of served up, but I don't see this happening. Like I can't imagine. Everybody, so do you all like having to pay for anytime you want to upgrade your armor or stats? Do you like being presented with the possibility of running through dungeons, and the moment you get to the entrance of said dungeon, you are asked to enter your credit card number before you can descend any further? Do you like defeating the final boss and seeing the special legendary purple armor presented to you, but it's stuck and the only way you can get it unstuck is to pull out your credit card number? If you like those things, you will love Raid Shadow Legends. That's right, Raid Shadow Legends. In partnership with Ridge Wallets. By the way, y'all know this whole deal. Do you enjoy having like a kind of weird wallet that makes a neat sound? And that it's kind of hard to get your cards out of? I don't want to show all my cards there. And you can kind of hold money with it too, but I wouldn't be super sure that that money is going to stay in place, really. If so, then you will love Ridge wallets. They're super easy to carry with you. So easy that you'll forget that you have it, and you will think that you have left your wallet at home, and you will turn around to try and go get your wallet only to realize that it's in your front pocket. And who the hell carries their wallet in their front pocket? But if you have a Ridge wallet, you can do just that. And I do now start to see if y'all can see this. Do you see that? Let me put it against my face. See that? Do you see the little, it's fraying. It's starting to fray. It is starting to come apart at the seams. after about 6 months of doing this. Now, I don't know if if a stitch in time can save that 9 or not. But, look, I'm not talking crap about Ridge wallets. I am using the darn thing, and I prefer it to a regular wallet, but it does have problems, and it is kind of falling apart on me right now. But as far as Raid Shadow Legends goes, I was made an offer by them, and they're, compared to other offers, they do offer a pretty good amount of money, but you got to do a lot of stuff, and I could not in good conscience endorse a pay-to-win game. Those are sort of the bane of my existence. They're the games I hate most in life. Microtransactions, if they're aesthetic, if you want to go ahead and charge for horse armor, Bethesda, charge $20 to put armor on your freaking horse. But don't make it the difference between me being able to win and not win. Just had it. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. Oh, see, this is the thing. Like, I've started to see this now. So now that I have a Max phone, right? And I've seen those things that attach to your phone, I've begun to think that's actually the best way for me to lose my entire life in in one moment of fumbling clumsiness. My wallet and my phone simultaneously. I kind of think it's probably maybe a better idea for someone like me. It's probably a better idea to keep the wallet and the phone separate, so the odds of me losing them both at the same time are less. Those scripts, I'm not sure what scripts you're referring to, but yeah, a new 742. That's exactly that's what would happen to me. Like I even did it with the phone. Getting black stuff is the worst idea because it's so hard to see when you drop it and lose it. So I got the blue phone, but I got a black case for it. So more fool me. And yeah, that's just a no on the Raid Legend. So a couple of things I want to talk about tonight, and I want to have, by the way, of course, now is the time if you want to chat and give the same spiel I always do. Would prefer, if it's people I haven't talked to before, if you want to talk and you have a webcam or a phone, so all you need is a phone with a camera and an internet connection, just send an email to this right here, a dead symbol at gmail.com with, hey, let's chat or something like that. And I lose my phone all the time. Like I use the Find My iPhone feature all the time because it's black. Because like I could drop this on the floor right now and I would not be able to see it. But I live in darkness. Where did Pavi go? Pavi's gone? Actually, you talk all the time. My God. So I'm before I get to that, I'm still reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules book. I'm finding it really hard to get through because I am disliking it so much. And, you know, writing notes about why I dislike it so much. But I really, really, first of all, I'm trying to understand where he's coming from. He spent 10 years working on this book called Mapping the Mind, I think it is, that went nowhere. And then he spent 10 minutes writing this book, or the seeds, or the seed that became this book, as an answer on Quora, the kind of that question answering website that got upvoted a lot. And therefore his editor said, hey, you know that answer you wrote that got upvoted a lot? Why not turn that into a book? And he said, I can do that. I can make that 500 words into 60,000 words easy. I'll just talk about lobsters and mention the fact that I'm a clinical psychologist a lot, and rip on people for seeing the world as it truly is. To quote, Jordan Peterson and Thomas Ligotti would not get along at all. In fact, I have trouble understanding how Jordan Peterson's professed favorite writer is Dostoevsky. Because a lot of the things that I get from Dostoevsky, and maybe it's a matter of interpretation, but I would think that he would see Dostoevsky as weak and needing to stand up straight and put his shoulders back and just get on with it, and be a little more stoic. I feel like the sort of self-satisfied, glib, easy answer, and I feel a little bad for him now, because it seems like with his benzodiazepine addiction and the horror that he went through, which I wouldn't wish that on. I might wish that on Donald Trump. I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. I wouldn't wish on Jordan Peterson, even though I don't like the guy. I wouldn't wish that on him. I think maybe, like, the interviews I've seen with him since then, he seems very fragile. And I kind of feel like he's having a crisis of conscience. And he may be very close to looking at things very different, or he may be wrestling with some of the ideas that have made him famous, and that he's cultivated an army of stands for. He may actually be coming to a place where he no longer believes in his own bullshit. That, and I played Soma. 4 years late. I don't know how. I mean, I do know how I missed it, but man, what a game. What a story. A really, really, and a really, 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 really good story. Very thoughtful story. I think, as I said during the actual stream itself, you used to be a stand for Jordan Peterson. I wouldn't have thought that. I'm hope the used to is still a used to. And it's amazing how many YouTube videos I've seen that say, like, Jordan Peterson owns. See Jordan Peterson own this feminist. See Jordan Peterson own these students. And he doesn't. He literally, like there's a couple where he's really good at arguing. And he's really good at looking down his nose at you. And he's really good at being extremely sort of pedantic and proselytizing, and doing that whole kind of, let's Let me hold on, I gotta get into my. Well, let's break that down a little bit then. Okay, I see. I think I see where you're coming from, but it's wrong, and I'll tell you why. Let me look. I'm a clinical psychologist at the University of Toronto. I studied at Harvard. You know, I have mountains of data backing this stuff up, and you know, the data points out. It says, you know, men and women, we haven't worked together in the workplace very long, only like 30 or 40 years. We don't really have the data we need to know if men and women can even work in a workplace together. We don't even know if that works yet. We're still figuring that out because women wear lipstick to work, and that's an overt sexual thingy. And so how are men supposed to react to that? Maybe we could all wear uniforms. I don't know. I'm just posing. He does this a lot too. He goes, I'm just posing the question. He's not. This is when people say, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. What if maybe Hitler wasn't all that bad? I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying that it's true or not true. I'm just saying that maybe it's possibly true, and maybe we should go ahead and run with that idea and eliminate all liberal arts programs from colleges, and you know, not get caught up in this idea, this gender identity idea, and not call people by their preferred pronouns. In fact, let's not look. It's not about calling people by their preferred pronouns. It's the fact that I don't want legislation put in place that forces me to call someone by their correct pronoun. It's not right. It's a slippery slope, man. Next thing you know, you're dictating speech. You know, I insist on my freedoms, like all libertarians. Anyway, let's see if anybody who's brave enough to call in. Oh, actually, I've got this too. Wait, I want to do this as well. Gosh, there's a lot on the plate tonight. There's a lot on the plate. Okay. So I had my Audible collection of H.P. Lovecraft playing again. And Flaglo sent what? Okay, well, forget it. This will wait. I gotta get Flaglo on. Flaglo. Man, Flaglo, you've been around for a long time. How come I don't have my little link to send you? Gotta send you the link. There it is. Okay, I've got a few people. Sorry, I'm just replying. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody in this list tonight unless we keep the conversations short. I'm probably going to have to keep the conversations fairly short. I think that's probably the best solution here. But I'm not good at moderating conversations. I just kind of I get on a tangent and then I just go. But I would like to talk to Flaglo first. That would be great. And if you get in the green room, Don't worry. I know you're there. This is about to be a big moment, people. I don't know if you, I've got to, oh, wait a minute. You can hear the computer's audio. Wait a second. Let's be sure this is okay. Are you able to hear that? Oh, you're hearing the chime of the people calling in. Well, yeah, that's kind of, here, I'll mute the system audio, but, all right. So coming on right now, so you know him as this, what is this guy? It's like I forget what this is from, what cartoon this avatar is from. But I know that he's watched the channel for a long time, because he used to like hate super chat me. I don't know. It was a lovely and horrible gesture, and it's something that other people have done, and it's fun to count. It's fun to spend that money, but it does make me feel guilty. So that's right, Butterfly Composer. You know him as Dark Lord Flaglo. Perhaps we'll get another name right here in a moment. Joining us. Look at how I'm building this up. Let's see. Can I put here? Let's do this. Coming up right now is the one, the only, Dark Lord Flaglo.
You are supposed to build me up.
Wait, there's more applause. And somebody inexplicably has a glockenspiel. So it kind of feels like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It is good to finally be able to put a face to your name and antics, Dark Lord Flaglo.
Don't build me up. I'm not special. I'm just a guy.
No, I don't think you're special. Nobody's a snowflake. Yeah, it's just, but you are entertaining and persistent, and I mean, you're funny.
Thanks.
You've been very entertaining for years.
My lighting is weird. My settings are weird.
Should we call you Flaglo? Is that?
You get Flaglo, Will. It doesn't matter.
It's not Flaglo. It's Flaglo.
Flaglo
or
Flaggy,
Will.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'd like to start if I could. Look, Anu says, "You look more overexposed than."
Yeah, I fixed that.
There you go.
It's a cheap webcam.
Look, colorful dreams. This was not an insult. Nobody's special. That's sort of the point, is that nobody is special. But if I had to pick a person or two, if I had to pick a list of people, Will would be on the, let's say, top 10, right? How about that? So can I start by asking you, because I remember seeing you, I want to say like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Whenever you started the streaming.
Really?
I was there for the first one.
But did you watch the channel before, or was the stream what got you?
I think I've been following you since your first collaboration with ER. His
Yes.
channel introduced me to yours, and I pretty much immediately abandoned his in favor of yours.
No, he would not like that, but he's doing okay. He puts out like a video a day. I don't know how he manages. It's insane. It's great.
Yeah, he's made jokes about it, I think, in some of the video he's made about like how you can always think of more.
Yeah. He never. Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about him too much, but
No, we don't need to talk about
one thing is he never seemed to have, like, he he always has ideas. Like he's a constant fountain of ideas. But yeah, so a couple years, right?
I think, well, the 5 years or something.
5 years.
I could look in your.
That's right. The first collab was that was like 5 years ago.
I can look into your like Phoenician Sailor channel video history and find the one.
It's probably not that important. It's not that important.
All right.
So whereabouts are you? What can you tell about yourself without revealing too much?
I'm south of Toronto, near Hamilton, which is pretty damn vast, so it doesn't matter.
So south of Toronto, but isn't Toronto pretty much like right on the river there? So are you in Canada or are you on the US side?
I'm on Canada's side of
But like down, are you like southwest of Toronto, like down closer to Niagara Falls?
I'm like half an hour away from Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Do you know who Kenny and Spenny are? Kenny versus Spenny? What's that?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. They're Canadian. I want to say they're like, Terrence and Phillip from South Park. Do you know South Park?
I know it, never watched it. I had stupider shows growing up.
All right, I'll steer away from the Kenny versus Spenny talk. But you're a half hour from Niagara Falls, so you go there a lot. You go to Niagara Falls a lot. You kind of hang out.
I have actually been there quite a lot. I don't like go there or intend to go there, but it's like the main place that people think of when they want to go somewhere for like a change of pace.
Jim and Pam got married there, right? So that's one thing it's got going for it.
It's pretty nice. It can be cold though because of all the mist.
Why is Michael saying that you're lying?
I'm lying? Wait, what?
What is Canada isn't real?
Oh, he's right. Yeah, that's something that all Canadians know. We're made up. So is Greece. I have a Greece friend. That's not real either.
So what can I ask what you do? Is it
nothing right now? I've been trying to complete school, but it's been hell.
School? Now, when you say school, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I have a couple of credits in high school left to get. I had to drop out because of sleep apnea.
Oh gosh, do you have to wear like a negative pressure?
I have a CPAP machine. It doesn't really do anything though.
It doesn't actually work?
It does, but it's not much of a difference. It's just one of those things. Sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it isn't.
So do you sometimes like wake up feeling like you're like you haven't breathed haven't taken a breath for a minute or two or whatever?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the number is specifically, but it's one of the severe sleep apnea. It's gauged by numbers, and mine's like later in there.
So is there any other kind of treatment for it apart from a CPAP machine?
I haven't looked into it. But I'm doing online school. Works way better because like my in-school grades, because I would always start out in school. The beginning of the year would be great. I'd always be there, and I'd have good marks, usually in like the 70s. Now that I'm doing the online stuff, it's straight 90s for everything. It feels great. So like the last thing I ever thought I would get a 90 in is biology, and it wasn't even difficult. Online school is great.
And you only have a few credits left to complete.
Yeah, like one more round. It's 4 credits, I think.
And then what is your desired
historian of some kind?
Really?
I want to do teaching, but I know how much of a hassle it is to get into that. I don't know if that'll be worth it. So maybe something like in a museum or a guide or something. I just love history.
Any particular area of history or area of the world or era?
It's kind of not modern. I don't like modern like history. Basically anything from 1900s or earlier, and I really enjoy that.
So, so the American Civil War just makes it, right? Is that?
Yes, I think what got me into history was learning how interesting U.S. history is in comparison to Canadian history. For us, it's like, oh, there was an election that was pretty weird. once there's this union of coal miners, and that's like 300 years later. It shouldn't, you know what I mean? It's boring. There's nothing good going on in Canadian
There's
history.
been for a country that's only been around for 250 years, 244 years, there sure has been a lot of conflict, it seems.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, not something to be proud of, but yeah, I mean, if you want to study something, right, like it is arguably, more interesting to study something where a bunch of bad shit happened, right?
Yeah, it's definitely more to talk about. Like the world wars, which aren't particularly my favorite thing to talk about. Every week has like, you could do an entire unit in school talking about a few battles. It's honest. There's so much to dissect and learn about in them.
So do you agree with Michael Sanguine when he was saying that he thinks that basically America is going to fall apart in the next?
I think that it felt like that for the last week or two, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The world's that's not going to happen. I don't think.
They say capitalism eats its own tail and sows the seeds of its own destruction. And so maybe it is I mean, all countries are temporary conglomerations of people and ideas, or people sharing a common set of ideas, right? So certainly, I guess someday every country changes.
Yeah,
but
I definitely think it's possible for any country to suddenly collapse out of thin air. Like, you just don't see it coming. I feel like I mean, did Pompeii realize they were going to be gone the next day? I don't think so. They just
not by died. The poses that most of those, those, it's not mummified. It's, I don't even know what you would call it, but the bodies that they find, like where the mother is like holding the child, really like heartbreaking shit. That was when I took Latin in high school. I remember that was basically the twist at the end of the textbook was the family that you were following at the end of the year get killed by the eruption of Vesuvius. And I remember being a little bit traumatized by that.
Yeah, I haven't had somehow I haven't had a class that's ever talked about it, but I have done a bit of research, and I think my absolute favorite one is the guy that decided his last living moment he would spend rubbing one out.
But are they sure about that? Like, is that?
You're pretty sure, I think. I don't know, but I like to, even if they came out with definitive proof that he did not die that way, that's what I would believe.
This is what you choose to.
I choose to believe that.
So is this like if say Southern Ontario, where if Niagara Falls were suddenly to become Mount Niagara and erupt, and magma were coming for you, would it follow then that would be your final moments?
I have this nice little spot overlooking my town. I would drive up there and just kind of watch everything. It's a nice little trail that goes over the escarpment. Just sit there.
An overhang?
There's like details. Whatever. There's like an escarpment going over my town. It's kind of like a big hill, and at the top there's a trail going along it. So there's a nice little overlook part that just sees the whole town.
Does everybody know about this thing, or is it something that you've? Oh, okay. So people are walking it all the time.
It's a hiking trail. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not someplace you'd go to, say, do anything like. You wouldn't go up there with a high-powered rifle or anything like that. It's not one of those.
The town, I don't think you'd be able to do much up there with a high-powered rifle, anyways.
Okay.
It's not right in the against the town. There's like I don't know how long. I'm not good with my distances, but it's not that close.
So you're going to finish high school in this year, definitely, right?
I hope, yeah. That'd be great.
Do you want to stay where you are?
I want to live here, but I don't want to stay here. In the foreseeable future, I want to go places. I definitely want to see Venice. I want to go to like Rome. My grandma's been to Rome, so I've got like lots of stories with that. I want to see Rome.
Have you left the country before?
Yeah, I've been on a nice cruise with my grandpa. We went along the coast, like of South America. There's Cuba. We went to Cuba. There were some other places further south. I don't remember where. I was young, like 12. So 10 years ago now.
You're 22.
Yeah, almost.
Wow, you're young. Life is all ahead of you, and it is. It's gonna be wonderful.
I hope so.
You're gonna love it. So, I'm trying to think of other questions to ask. I'm assuming you were not a Trump fan.
No. I definitely. Actually, when he first announced that he was going to be president, this is years ago now. I was in a car with a friend coming home from the movie theaters, and I was younger. I didn't know shit about politics. My immediate thought was that he was right for the country, that like being more like crazy than the other people. But within like the month, it was just like, oh, this guy's nuts. There's no way. It's a horrible thing. There's no way he's ever going to become the president. Of course he did. And I was right. He was nuts. I still love that the first thing he did when he became the president was golf. At the White House, right?
Yeah, the hypocrisy I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find areas where there's not hypocrisy when it comes to him, right? It was mostly a lot of the things that he said he would do or wouldn't do. We still haven't seen his taxes, right? I mean,
isn't his wall just a shitty fence mostly?
Oh man, that's actually one of my favorite clips of Trump. And I feel like I can reveal times I didn't hate him now that he's gone, is when he's talking about the wall. And you know how you can tell when he goes off script, right? He'll be reading something, he'll be very on point, and then all of a sudden he'll just kind of go, and let me tell you, it's going to be so, right? He goes and he does one of his little...
Yeah, it's gets like really casual. You just know he's...
And he uses the same words over and over again. You just know that at this point, he's just talking. So he was giving some speech on the wall, and he goes into one of these asides where he's just talking, and he says, and let me tell you, even if you could get up there, there's no way you're getting down. And then
I think when he was still building the wall.
Wait, that's not the end. he goes, let me tell you, once you get up there, there's no way you're getting down. Maybe a rope. Like he had this thought, and he was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to say this because this makes total sense. And then the moment it came out of his mouth, he was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess you could get down. It actually would probably be easier to get down than to get up. And the fact that he was like, oh, maybe a rope. I guess a rope will do it. But who has rope, right? Like that's, nobody carries rope if they're trying to get over a wall.
Yeah, sorry, I tried to interrupt you there.
No. How dare you?
Didn't the statistics show when he was talking about this wall thing, it was like his main running point, that most of the drugs and immigrants coming into the United States came by plane and boat? Like they didn't go over the border.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know exactly what the data is, so I don't want to be talking out of my ass too much. But yeah, that was my understanding too, was that the wall wouldn't do what he thought it was going to do. Or what he was claimed it was going to do.
It was like 90% of people that came into the country was through the border illegally, when there's probably more like 40 or 50%. Again, I don't know the numbers, but
I mean, he wanted to award contracts to his construction crony buddies and somehow get kickbacks and this massive project that would also be his legacy and be something that he could point to, and it would be a symbol, and it would be there were a lot of, I think, positive. He thought that he could get a lot of positive press out of it. He didn't care if it worked or not, right? So whatever.
It was his Autobahn.
Exactly. Well, the Autobahn, did you say?
Whatsoever. Yeah, except it had no practicality whatsoever.
Right. I was going to say, at least the Autobahn, I don't know that much about it.
That was so useful. It's still used.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I saw like a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about putting up a wall in part of Colorado, which it doesn't even border Mexico. It borders New Mexico. I don't So I don't know what he was talking about, or if he got confused, or if he just misstated. I don't know what it was, but it was really bizarre. The guy's bizarre.
Doesn't like the word Mexico.
He doesn't like the word Mexico. He doesn't like. I think he likes about 6 or 7 people in the world, and he wants to only be like around those people and or himself or anyone who obviously anyone who kisses up enough.
Anybody who echoes what he says.
Yeah, makes him feel good about his ideas and his chances of making more money. I also watching today as part of the inauguration. Before they showed him they showed him leaving from Andrews Air Force Base, and it was pretty thin soup there at Andrews. There were, I think, 1/3 of the bleachers were filled. It was not the massive bon voyage that I think he was hoping or expecting. And I read that he was sending out invitations and saying you could bring 5 guests, which is like kind of like please bring like a whole bunch of people because there's not going to be a lot of people there.
Remember, while we're comparing Trump to remember the inauguration speech, the crowds for his inauguration compared to Obama's?
Oh, yeah.
Obama's was like a sea of people, and then Trump's is like right at the front of the...
No, but his was the biggest ever. They just they were hiding. They were hiding under...
They were just... You couldn't see them in the photos.
Hiding under trees. They were packed very closely together. Who knows what it was, but something, it was some kind of trickery, some kind of fake news that made it look like there weren't as many people as there were. But whatever. Did you follow the Capitol riots at all?
I wasn't following when it happened, but I watched a really good, proper documentary of what happened, which is I don't remember the channel name.
They've already got a proper documentary on it? That's fast.
Documentary in the real sense. They were just documenting in a timeline all the events using real unedited footage. So I know everything that happened and the timeline of events. That was crazy. The fact that happened at all, and the thing the fight in the hallway, the shooting, all of that was terrible and was just, I think that was pretty shameful. The fact that it happened.
It was. And I was talking in the stream last week because I'd watched this, one of the videos was a lone Capitol police officer who was there was a crowd and he kept going up to different parts. He went up to the landing between the staircases and then he would get pushed back, kept getting pushed back. I didn't know until yesterday, or even I think it was yesterday, that he led them away from the Senate floor. He was essentially, he was a decoy, right? He was backing up into an area that he knew was the wrong way because he knew that they would think, oh, well, if that's what he's protecting, that's where we need to go. So he was kind of corralling them into a way away from the Senate floor. And there were still people that went to the Senate floor, but apparently he got a promotion and he escorted Kamala Harris today, I think, from the inauguration. So he was he got appropriately rewarded for what looked frightening as hell and was pretty heroic.
I think the scariest parts of all the footage that I watched, and this is a 2-hour-long video, the scariest parts were in front of the Capitol building where the police were at the metal fence things and people were trying to pull them away. There was one moment where an officer was pulled into the crowd while he was holding onto the metal railing, and a bunch of people start shouting, "Kill him!"
Yeah, with his own gun, right?
Yeah, that they just keep saying pull out his gun, shoot him. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, I saw
a human being said that.
Yeah, I saw an interview with that guy where he said, eventually some people in the crowd, he started saying stuff like, "I have kids," trying to appeal to their humanity. Eventually, a couple people in the crowd helped him up and helped him get out of the situation. And in the interview afterwards, he said, "Well, I'm glad that these people helped me, but also fuck them for being there." Right? That's a quote. He actually said, "Fuck them for being there." Right? So, it was insane, and we still don't necessarily know everything that happened or what all the repercussions are, or what all the indictments are going to be. I mean, who knows what a month from now, looking back on this, what sort of perspective or insight we'll have gleaned. Will, I'm so happy to have met you and to be able to put a face to the name and an avatar to the face and a face to the avatar. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add. It seems like I'm rushing you off, but I actually need to take a bio break really bad.
I have to go to the washroom too.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything to add.
What's that?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, cool. So Will and I are going to go use the bathroom real quick, and I'll be back. Maybe you'll be back if you're in the chat. I will see you in the chat. And thank you for coming on. And please, anytime, right? You're welcome anytime you want. Thank you for talking, and have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Bye. That was him. That was the man himself. All right, I got to take a quick bio break. It'll only be a minute or two. But, and then I will continue a few more calls, and we're coming up on 2 hours. So probably go for like another 30 minutes or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see. All right, but get ready for the please stand by. Here it comes. Be right back. And I'm back. Excuse me. My gosh. Let's see. All right, so the order that I got these in was such that, Mike, I don't think I'm gonna get to you tonight. But let's see. Let's start getting to people. And all right, so now this person I've spoken with before, I think on this podcast too, and get special dispensation to not need to do video. I don't know how this is going to work. Let's see how this works. Oh, we did it once before, I think, and it was just like I don't know, but it is Grace. Oh, that's right. It just does like Grace, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, how are you doing?
I have a sticky note over my camera.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I kept forgetting exactly how. Here, let me put a little. Okay, so we have now your name tag there. So
I feel like I'm in witness protection.
Hold on. Sticky note. There. How are you doing? How have you been? It's been I haven't spoken to you since the last time we spoke on.
I know.
This.
Yeah, I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Crap, but but
we're being honest. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, that was a genuine. How are you doing? Not a pleasantry meant to just be answered with.
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to give that another shot? How are you doing?
Yeah, so I think struggling like everyone else. It's I've been working at home, which I guess I'm really lucky because my day job allows me to work from home, and so I've been doing that since March of last year, and I'm kind of tired of being in my house.
That's the same for me. I've been working from home since March of last year. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy. It's been almost a year.
I mean, what seemed like at first it was this wonderful novelty that was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was horrible and horrifying, but it was like, yay, oh, finally I get to work from home. And now it's just like, oh my God, I gotta leave the house.
I know. Yeah. And, where I'm at, our rates were going back up again. So right after the holidays, we got almost completely locked down here. And so, I haven't even been to the grocery store in like over a month. So
do you
I
order?
really am going nowhere.
You order in?
Yeah, I have a box. Yeah, I have a box coming from Target that they said showed up today, but it's not here. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do the
tomorrow.
same thing. Like, I don't trust anything. Like, I'm not. How can you say, with as much comfort as you have, like whereabouts you are?
I'm in the northeastern U.S. in a very large, prominent state there.
Okay. Yeah, that's good enough. Did it snow there today?
It did snow. It did snow here today. Yeah.
It actually snowed at the inauguration a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that. I was watching it. That is actually one nice thing about working from home. I could watch the inauguration while I was working today. So I was watching that while I was doing my work.
And I will say, like, I mean, I don't like commutes, but I especially hate snow. Like, I am so anti-snow and cannot stand the 20 minutes that it would take when your windshield is frosted over if you're not fortunate enough to have an indoor garage, and you have to spend the first 15 to 20 minutes of your morning just getting your car out of the driveway. It's a great way to like arrive at work already wanting to go home, So
right, yeah, your clothes are dirty and you're sweating. And
Yeah, exactly. And snow
Yeah,
gets in
when
your
I
shoes. Ugh,
mhm.
hate
Yeah,
snow.
when I first moved here, I did not have a garage, but I do now. So it's pretty nice. But yeah, if you don't, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you're flexing a little bit there.
Well, I did just get a promotion.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, so yeah, that was actually really something kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that, during this time when we're working from home and things are kind of crazy, but they announced promotions earlier and I got one, so I'm really excited.
That is awesome. And yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
corporations are not, they're either doing wage freezes or
Mm-hmm.
even like some looking for voluntary redundancy or doing whatever they can to cut costs. Obviously, there are some very notable exceptions
Mm-hmm.
who are
Yeah.
doing exceptionally well now
Right.
for the same reasons that everyone is doing poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but congratulations. I'm glad that you got a promotion. That's great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
How
pretty cool.
how is everything going with like the channel and what's going on with
Pretty
all that?
good. So, yeah, the last couple of years, I moved here 2 years ago, and things have just been nothing worked out how I expected it to. Things went very awry. And my life here was not what I thought it was going to be. So I had to really kind of regroup, readjust, evaluate. And then it took me a while to actually get into permanent housing where I had a studio space. So, I wasn't living in an Airbnb or, like a month to month apartment
Oh
that
yeah,
didn't have
yeah.
any, privacy or anything. So it took me about almost a year to actually get into where I live now, where I have a dedicated studio space and I can actually record. So the last year, it's just been not necessarily a matter of space or time. And that sounds kind of existential, but it's it's been more motivation. I think it's been really hard to get motivated with all of this external stuff going on. It just feels like all of my energy and my emotions are just being sucked out of me every day. That I would read the news or I would watch what was going on, and it's really hard to kind of refocus and you know gather the energy, like the emotional energy that it takes to make the recordings that I do.
Right.
Because especially my more sensual and erotic work, it takes a lot of emotional energy because I kind of want to transmit that through the work, and I want the listener to feel like they're really having an experience and there is intimacy there, and emotion and caring. Like, I don't want it to be rote. um
Right. There's a lot of ASMR
yeah.
where it doesn't matter if you're in it or not, right? Like you're tapping things together, you're making noises. You don't necessarily have to feel like you're in the headspace, um, unless you're doing like a role play or something like that, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, so what you do have to be in the proper headspace, and I could see
Yeah,
how
and
that
that
would be really really difficult.
yeah, it can be really difficult. And then also if you're going through anything in your own personal life that's kind of taking your focus and your emotions away, um, again, it's you just have to kind of come back and regroup and and really focus. And I've been struggling with that over the last year, and I think I've kind of talked about it publicly some with my patrons and on Twitter, because I love Twitter. um, but
You
yeah,
still love
so
Twitter even with no
I
Trump,
do. I
no
do. Yeah,
dumpster fire?
I still do. I still do. But I think for the new year, I kind of felt re-energized for 2021. Maybe because I knew some of this was coming to an end, and I was going to get some of that emotional headspace back. But I kind of felt re-energized. I made the decision to go back to using images for thumbnails on my videos. And I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but for me, as a creative person who loves images, and that was really part of the joy of my creation, was choosing images that would relay the emotion and the feeling of the audio that I was making. Not being able to do that was really, it kind of took away from some of the creativity and the joy of my creation. So I went back to doing that. And it had to do
How
with,
do you go about that? Like, is that,
yeah.
do you,
Go
is
ahead.
are they stock images that you search for, or do you take your own pictures? How does that work?
I would love to take my own photos, but unfortunately, I just, I don't really have the capacity to do that right now. But I have some stock photo sites that I use, and I'm always really careful. I want to make sure that the images that I'm using are, that I can use for commercial purposes,
Right.
without having any kind of copyright issues. And obviously, I don't want to infringe on another artist's work. So, I don't want to like just go and grab some random image off, the web, and then it's actually copyrighted, and the artist isn't getting anything from it. So I mainly just use stock images from a couple different websites, and I can usually find what I want from there. They have a good selection. It's very rare that I ever pay for an image. I think I've done that maybe once or twice, but for the most part I try to find like readily available free commercial images to use.
There's someone asking in the chat, Grace, what your channel is, or what.
Oh, okay. So,
So I don't know if you can give.
let me give the elevator pitch.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm Grace. I'm a voice actor and ASM artist, and I specialize in girlfriend role plays for everyone. We're an equal opportunity channel, so everyone's welcome. And my work on YouTube is very kind of PG-13, so I try to keep it pretty clean over there. But I do more sensual and erotic work that focuses on ASMR and really intimacy and loving kindness and relationships. And that's over on Patreon and a couple of other places, Vanilla Audio, and I have a few things posted on Literotica that are a bit more, I would say, pushing the envelope and experimental. That's kind of a fun experimental space. But yeah, so I'm an ASM artist, but I explore ASMR from platonic all the way through erotic. And I think that really shows the range of our human experience. And that's what ASMR is meant to do. It's meant to have intimacy and really reflect the human experience.
And it's Grace's Grove?
Grace's Grove Audio.
Grace's Grove Audio. So yeah, the channel
added the audio in there.
The channel name is Grace's Grove Audio. Okay, yeah. And you and I, like, I remember, obviously I remember this, right? We met and did like a 3-hour long podcast kind of thing.
We did, yeah, because I also have a podcast, which I'm trying to refocus on that this year as well. I'm kind of rebooting for the new year, so trying to refocus and start working on old projects again. But yeah, we met in, it was actually when I was moving here, and met up with you in DC, and yeah, we, over a couple different evenings, we ended up having like 3 hours of conversation that we were able to record. And yeah, it
ran the gamut. Like, and I was surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised, but it was nice that it seemed like we were very much aligned as far as like the way we thought about both things like sexuality in ASMR, drug use, right? Like, there were a bunch of things that we talked about. I remember, like, oh yeah, we were just on the same page, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why it ended up being 3 hours of talking.
I know, yeah, we really clicked, and that was a really great conversation. It was really fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And I think you have it posted on your channel, on your Phoenician Sailor channel, and I have it on Podbean. It's one of my podcast episodes. So if anybody wants to kind of retroactively check that out, it's in a few different places.
Yeah, it's 2 years ago. So you'd have to.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
You have to go back a bit, or just search for Grace on my channel, or search for I don't know if it's under Phoenician on yours or what have you. Oh, hey Leah, sorry, Leah just popped into the chat saying hello.
Hi,
hello,
Leah.
How are you doing? So obviously you're happy with what took place today, and maybe it's And you got a promotion. So you're feeling better about this year than last year. Is that fair?
I am. I'm feeling a lot more positive for myself personally, but also for, I think, society as a whole, and the world stage. I'm
Yeah,
looking
that's
forward to reading, popping open the New York Times in the morning and not seeing some like ridiculous headline that just makes me want to crawl back into bed. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot more positive.
yeah. I wish I could say that I feel more personally positive about this year, which I kind of don't, but I do feel better about the world. And that can't help but bleed through it. It's kind of like I was saying earlier, like I didn't think that I was going to have an emotional reaction to the inauguration, and I did. And I do think it was because like I'd just been carrying this thing and not even, it had gotten to the point where I didn't even realize I was carrying it.
Yeah, I had the same thing happen today. I was working and I kind of turned on BBC just to watch, the inauguration. And yeah, I ended up stopping a couple different times and just turning around and just watching it and crying. Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that. So it was, yeah, I think that we've all been carrying a huge weight and not
Well,
realizing how much.
not
Well, not
almost half the
everyone.
country was
Not
not
everyone.
carrying that way.
That's true, not everyone. Although I thought it was kind of interesting. So there was supposed to be demonstrations at state capitals around the country on Sunday, the 17th. And then again today, they were kind of bracing, a lot of the state capitals were bracing for these crazy demonstrations, and nothing really happened
Yeah,
either day,
this
which
is
I think is kind of telling. It's really interesting.
this is why when I was saying earlier, I don't know if you were around at the beginning or not, but people are wondering like what is the thing that's going to happen after all this, and the question that I'm posing is what if Trump's election was the thing, right?
Hmm.
And now it's over.
Right, right.
That would be great, and it's probably too simplistic and too optimistic, but I'd like to entertain that notion for as long as I can, just for my own sanity. Is that
Well,
yeah? Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I've been watching, kind of what happened at the Capitol, which was just like, I can't even express how mortifying and horrible that was to watch. But it happened, and a lot of the people that were there, I think they really had this like after the fact, and people started getting arrested, and public sentiment didn't really turn their way. I think a lot of them really had this kind of like, are we the baddies moment? you know and
Was that
I
was
think,
that a Mitchell and Webb look
of
reference?
course.
Okay, just double checking.
Are we the baddies? I
But
think a
why
lot of them really,
skulls? Why?
why do we have skulls in our hats? I
In
think a
case
lot of,
anybody doesn't know what we're talking about,
yeah.
it's a show called That Mitchell and Webb Look. It's David Mitchell and Robert Webb from Peep Show, which is another great show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, great show.
So if you haven't seen either of those shows, Peep Show or That Mitchell and Webb Look, check them out. They're very, very funny.
Yeah. So I think a lot of them kind of had that kind of moment, like, oh wait, I thought I was a patriot. I thought I was saving America, and holy crap, I'm the bad guy, and the FBI might be knocking on my door. This is not what I signed up for.
It,
So yeah, I'm kind of curious about how all this is going to shake out.
there's also the idea of, well, I mean, like you said, right? Like these people felt like the president told me to do this, right? Even though he didn't explicitly tell you to do exactly that. I mean, he knew what he was doing. He knew what, or maybe he didn't know what was actually going to come out of it, but he certainly knew that what he was doing was, I mean, from the beginning, right, where he was trying to stoke the fire, increase the divide, was he on some level? Was he like, and if they steal the electoral ballots, oh well. I mean, I guess that's what happened. If it invalidates the election, oh well. Man, who knows what kind of insane thoughts? Because this is a man who has gone through life, failing upwards his entire life, right? So. Not all the time, but a majority of the time, right? He's gone bankrupt, but then he keeps recovering. So he may not even be able to envision a situation wherein he does not emerge victorious in some way. Although I will say it seems like the last week he seems like a puppy who has been hit or something, just like kind of keeping his, like he doesn't look...
Like just deflated.
Yeah. Which... Normally, I would feel bad for that. I'd immediately start being like, "Oh, I got to switch sides now and be on the underdog side." But not happening in this case. That's not happening. Well, Grace, it was really, really good talking to you. I'm going to try and get through a bunch of people here before I sign off.
Of course.
But Grace's Grove Audio, Grace's Grove Audios. Wait.
Grace's Grove Audio.
Okay, yeah.
Singular.
And that's on YouTube. And you said it was on something else too that I hadn't even heard. Podbean? Oh, Podbean.
Oh, yeah. So that's where my podcast is hosted from. But the podcast is actually available on, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, like all the normal podcast apps. You can find the podcast.
And that's called What's Up with Grace, right? That's a different.
Wake Up with Grace.
Yes. Sorry, I got the initials right.
You did. And actually, if people just want to go to either Twitter or YouTube, I have a Linktree link for all my social media sites. So they can just click on that. It's like a one-stop shop, basically. You click on Linktree, and then it'll take you to all of my other links.
There you go. And maybe you could pop that in the chat as well. That'd be good.
Sure.
Cool. Thank you so much, Grace.
You're
And
welcome.
I hope that this year doesn't disappoint you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I'm really tired of being disappointed. Damn it.
Well, concentrate on you got the. Hey, look, you have a garage. I don't know how you can be.
Yeah, duh. I made it.
Yeah, you're there. How does it feel?
It's incredible. It's everything I always hoped it would be and more.
Oh. All right. Thank you so much, Grace. And
You're
I
welcome.
will talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, damn it. Here's the problem. Same problem that I have with the comments, right? Here we go. He's calling back. Okay. I'm welcoming Nick. Now, I'm not sure which Nick this is. Gonna have to find out which Nick as soon as we bring Nick. And first thing I want to do, Nick, is apologize. I just hung up on you because I went to hang up on Grace, and she hung up, so her window disappeared, and it replaced it with yours. It's the same thing that happens with the comments here sometimes. They just shift position, and I click on one, and it pops the one after up. So I apologize for that. Nick, you're not the same Nick. You're a new Nick.
Yes. The one who's been commenting more frequently now. Nick, not Nicholas.
Right, not Nicholas. Nick what? Where can I find your comments here?
Mine is the one with the Arthur Morgan avatar.
Okay, is it just, it's not just Nick though, is it?
Yeah, it should be just Nick.
Oh, okay. Well, and how are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good. Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like we could be, I could be your much older brother. But whatever. I mean, it's the beard, right? It's the dark hair and the beard.
Yeah. Dark hair, beard, glasses. There you go. We all look the same.
We both have very hipster glasses, both.
Yeah.
So how are you doing? Where can you say about where you're calling from?
Yeah. I'm in Orlando, in Florida.
I apologize. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but I lived in Orlando for a year. a little over a year. 18 months I lived in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad.
The spot where my girlfriend and I are is a pretty nice area. It's on the outskirts of Orlando. It's called Winter Garden.
Oh, I know Winter Garden. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so you know.
Yeah. Is that like near Mount Dora, right? Is that? It's
think
north of Orlando.
Yeah. I think Mount Dora is like half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that from here.
Okay, I might
if I
be getting them a little
correctly.
confused, but I think Winter Garden is actually a train stop I used to stop on when the Amtrak would be coming south into Orlando from Tampa. Actually, so it would be coming from the west or the northwest, but I believe it stopped in Winter Garden or Winter Gardens. Is it Winter Garden or Winter Gardens?
Winter Garden.
Winter Garden. I'm pretty sure that it stopped there, but maybe I could be wrong. But I definitely recognize the name. No, I lived about a block from Universal Studios, and this was right when Universal Studios was opening. My girlfriend at the time worked at Universal Studios before they opened, and we could actually go ride on the rides. Like, I didn't know they were using, like, at the time, it was like, oh, cool, we get to go ride on the rides. But it was like to kind of test them to see if they were fun. And I remember like the log flume capsized or something, and that was it. I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
This is it. We're done. Never again.
Yeah. So, but I would go. I remember I would walk to like the City Walk, which is the equivalent of like the Disney nightlife. I forget what the Disney version is, but at Universal,
It used to be called Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island, that's right. But for Universal, it was called City Walk, and they would have all these restaurants and bars that were like themed. And there was one that was a themed kind of 40s jazz bar that I would go in and kind of like drink martinis and try and be like
Humphrey
cool
Bogart.
somehow. I don't know what I was going for. It definitely didn't work. And like the fact that you would walk right outside this place and you'd see who's the name of that chef that goes bam.
Emeril Lagasse.
Emeril Lagasse had a restaurant like right across, like right next to it there, and that's my chief recollection of Orlando is everything on iDrive, that whole area where I lived, because I also worked very close. I worked at a game developer that was very close there, but iDrive, that road that kind of goes. Along there's the Ripley's Believe It or Not thing and all the different, like, everything was huge. Like there's nothing regular sized. Even like the drugstores would have like a giant, not at the time LeBron James, but basketball player or something. Like they would always have these giant things set up because everybody was trying to compete to try and like show up what they had. And I remember like for lunch, I would walk to this place that looked like Castle Grayskull. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like a haunted castle, and they had like really bad hamburgers. But I liked to go there on lunch just so I could just kind of hang out in this weird pseudo. And quality-wise, it kind of seemed like a Castle Grayskull too. It kind of seemed like it was a giant plastic molded building, right? Man, I wish I could remember the name of that place. But this was 20 years ago, so I'm sure Orlando has changed. But the other thing I remember about Orlando, and this I don't think has changed, was how it was so much hotter than Miami was, or like the coastal towns that are equilateral with Orlando, Cocoa Beach or whatever. If you just go straight east, I think you pretty much hit Cocoa Beach, but because you weren't getting that kind of breeze from the Gulf Stream. You were inland enough where you weren't getting that, but you were still getting all the heat. So my recollection was like, Orlando's way hotter than Miami was.
It is. Yeah, it totally is.
But you're okay. You're doing okay there.
Oh, yeah. iDrive has not really changed all that much. It's still pretty much the same way as you described it. The Ripley's building is still there.
It's a cool looking building. It's like upside down.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's like a big Coliseum Well, it looks more like the Parthenon, but flipped on its roof.
Yeah, whoever came up with that, that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But for the most part, it's still pretty much identical. All of the tourist attraction buildings are like, "Hey, come shop here," or "Oh no, come shop over here," stuff like that. Um,
How often do you
City
go to
Walk.
Disney World?
So my girlfriend and I last year, before everything closed down, we used to go almost every weekend. I worked for a company that was on, so kind of backtrack and give context here. Pleasure Island closed in the early 2000s and rebranded itself as Disney Springs. And it closed again, or sorry, it closed to call itself Downtown Disney and then closed again to call itself Disney Springs.
Downtown
So it went
Disney.
through, like,
See, that's weird. I remember Downtown Disney. I don't remember Disney Springs at all. But it is like really weird to think about now that Disney had a place called Pleasure Island.
yeah,
For the
it
adults
totally
to go
is.
to.
Like, I could have, I could see that for Disney in the 90s because they were trying to like really expand out there. But
Well, but
thinking
it sounds
of
like a strip
Disney,
club. I mean, it sounds like a
yeah,
like a
yeah.
strip club.
I remember going there as a kid back when it was still called Pleasure Island, and like, as a kid, you're not like, you don't really know a ton about that
Right.
kind of stuff, and thinking like, this sounds wrong.
Right.
Something.
I don't think there's anything wrong with. I just think it's weird for the Disney brand. Like it doesn't seem like.
Yeah.
It seems like someone at Disney. It shouldn't have been 20 years ago that someone at Disney was finally like, "Do we really want to have a place called Pleasure Island that is
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
Disney
exactly.
associated?" But
Exactly.
whatever. So you used to go there a lot, but obviously now nothing.
Yeah, ever since the pandemic hit, like we haven't gone once. We've talked about maybe going to one of the resorts, the Polynesian, just for a couple hours to get out of the
Polynesian's
house.
my
And
favorite Disney resort, by the
same,
way. It
same.
is, and I don't know if it's nostalgia because when I was a kid, I would stay there, but just the openness of it, and it's actually like kind of like got a little bit of a cheap motel vibe to it, in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. The
But
theming of it.
yeah, but it's so I don't know, man. It's right there on the water, and you can. The Polynesian is it, and that main building is just.
Hmm.
There's something special about it. Like the contemporary is kind of bleh. I mean, it's neat to look at, but once you get inside, it's kind of like an Embassy Suites kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Grand Floridian, obviously, that's newer, right? That's kind of like a more recent thing, but that's the super high end one, I guess.
Yeah, it's
Um,
very gaudy.
yeah, but the Polynesian is that fits the Disney experience as far as I'm concerned, and it I associate that with like my childhood going to Disney, always staying at the Polynesian. So and seeing people do like is this like not PC? Like I don't know, but I remember seeing shows where there were hula dancers and fire eaters and
It's still the same. Yeah,
still the same.
they still
Yeah,
do stuff like that. Yep.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I actually read that they might be using Disney grounds to deliver vaccines or something like that. Have you heard
Yeah,
anything about
so I believe in California, because California is still closed due to how rampant the virus is over there, um, that they are going to use the park itself and like the accompanying downtown Disney area and like the Disneyland Hotel to start administering vaccines. But as far as like Disney World goes, because it's currently operating, all of the parks are currently operating in some capacity. I don't know if they would do the same thing down here. I feel like they
So
probably should.
Yeah, I conflated Disney World and Disneyland, right? Yeah, but did you say that your work is somehow related to Disney?
Yeah, so I used to work for a third-party company called The Void,
Ooh,
which actually has a location in the Virginia area, I believe.
that's a great
Um,
place to if you say you work at the Void. That's a
yeah, yeah. Anytime I say the name, people are like, "What?"
It's got cachet.
It's like a 4D virtual reality experience. So
What's the
it's hard to
4D?
explain without having like an example to show. It's like being in a video game that you actually get to participate in through VR, except like I have to give context to give a better example. We have a Star Wars experience, had a Star Wars experience. And when you go through it, if you get shot by a stormtrooper, the gear that you're wearing, you would actually like feel the laser blasts hit you, and like your
so it
equipment
had
would react
like
to
haptic feedback on your body.
Yeah, exactly. It was a full haptic setup. I can't give a ton of details due to NDAs, but
You're still there.
it did. So that's what I was getting to with the backstory. They closed like permanently.
And
due
everybody
to
went to Magic Leap. Did everyone leave there to go to Magic Leap?
I wish. It closed permanently due to COVID, because like the experience itself can't be done safely with the existence of COVID. Like there'd be no way to, because you're so close with people. It would be like a super spreader basically.
Yeah. You couldn't just remove one of the Ds, like remove the haptic part and just make it yeah, I'm sure it's not that easy.
Unfortunately not. Yeah. With the way that it's set up, you couldn't take away any part of it without making the walls collapse.
Somebody saying they did a 4D Star Wars experience a couple of years ago. Might be the same software. Was this open to the public? Or was this still in?
Yeah, it's been open to the public since like 2014.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And
they originally started with a location only in Vegas, and then they eventually expanded to like downtown Disney over in California, Disney Springs, Virginia. Mall of America had one. The World Trade Center, at the Oculus, they had one as well.
And now it's gone. Just that's it.
That's it. There's a lot more backstory to it that I would prefer not to get into, because it's legal problems that the company went through with Disney itself. And that
you guys were going to lose the Star Wars IP. They were going to take it away from you. I don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't.
What they did resulted in them losing the IP. So it was just like a watching the cards fall kind of scenario.
Oh, that
first
sucks.
COVID and then closing, and then the subsequent legal ramifications, and them losing their experiences, and then it just snowballed from there.
Was there a period where you were watching this happening and you were like, I have a feeling I know where this is going to end, and you were just kind of hanging around hoping that the worst didn't happen? Because I've been there, and that's a terrible feeling.
So I had been working for the company for almost 2 years when we shut down in March due to COVID. And even before then, we had gone through some managerial changes that I didn't agree with on a personal level, and as someone who's been in a position of leadership before, granted it was in the military, it was not in a civilian job. So there wasn't too many similarities. I could start seeing that the business practices that were being implemented were kind of like the writing on the wall. I saw that, and I thought, what is happening is ultimately not going to lead to anything good for anybody. And then, things kind of evened out, and I still had that same feeling, but it seemed like things were just going steady. It didn't seem like it was getting worse in any way. And then once COVID hit and we got put on furlough, we stayed on furlough, they kept pushing reopening days back and back and back and back. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, either they're going to run out of money or something else is going to happen, and they're just not going to reopen. And then next thing I know, come July, They're like, "Yep, we're closing permanently."
Wow, so they only lasted for like 4 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, wow. And can I ask what you did?
So I was a guest experience person. So like whenever people would come to the building to like go through the experience, we would have to give them like a pre-show, explain the rules and stuff like that, that get them suited up in the gear and then monitor them as they go through the experience itself. For safety purposes, it's not like we could just let them go on the stage and just like sit by and wait for them to finish. You have to be with them at all times. So it was kind of like a safety critical position to make sure nothing happened to anybody.
Was there any, like,
Um,
did you have any DM powers, or was there any, like, sort of, could you trigger events or do anything like that? Or it was
it
more,
was all automated.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you
The
said you
only
were ex,
things,
sorry,
sorry,
go
the
ahead.
only things that we could do were like turn the experience on and off.
Gotcha. So it wasn't like you were walking around with them and it was too easy. So you were like, you know what, this is too easy. Let me throw a few more stormtroopers at you.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, nothing like that.
And you're saying you were ex-military? Can you say anything about that? I don't.
Yeah. So I enlisted in high school at 17.
Wow.
I have a back, my family background is all military. My dad was in the Navy. In the 80s. My grandfather fought in Korea. I had two great uncles who fought in World War II. I, had uncles that fought in Vietnam. So cousins who have been in the Marines, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, like everything.
Wow.
Uh, so it was a family history thing for me, ranging all the way back to like World War One. Like my
That's amazing.
my great grandfather on my mom's side fought in Gallipoli
Oh,
um,
geez.
with the British. Yeah, he was
Uh,
a
I saw the movie.
yeah. Luckily, he made it
Gallipoli.
out, which is why we're here. So
Yeah, I was gonna say Gallipoli was not a good place to be.
yeah, yeah. He was with the Scots in Gallipoli. Um,
Wow.
so
Wow.
very, very deep-rooted family history in the military. So part of it was I wanted to carry on that family tradition. Part of it was I wanted that feeling of like camaraderie and being part of something bigger than
Yeah.
myself. And then another part of it was like this is how I can further myself in my college education and what I do in the military. I can go to college that would associate to my job and eventually go into either the contracting market for the government and work for them or even get a nice cushy government job or something like that. um,
Did
but
you
I
notice
only
my
served.
flag was incorrectly hung?
Yes, it was. I didn't say anything because personally I'm not a huge stickler about that kind of stuff. um,
But you
but
did notice it.
after, yeah, I noticed it as soon as I joined. I saw it in the background. I was like, huh, all right. um, but I was only enlisted for about a year before I got discharged for medical purposes. When they discharged me under what's called a Chapter 11, which is a general discharge. And they gave me the option to re-enlist in 6 months if I wanted to. And after going through the experiences that I did, like I finished my training. I went through all my training and everything, and at the very end of it was when I got discharged. Um, and going through all the experiences that I did and meeting all the people that I did and like seeing how the environment was, um, that's when I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't something that I want to do as a job for, between 8 to 10 years of my life or however long.
Right. And you would have had to, when you say re-enlist, like you would have had to start over essentially? Would you have
Yeah.
done training again? And
Yeah.
oh,
So even though I had technically gotten towards the end of my training, um, because they started my they called it chapter paperwork because they started my chapter paperwork before officially finished. Um, it, it basically says on my record that I didn't finish due to them chaptering me.
That sucks.
But I didn't want it to happen. Like, it was for medical purposes, so it was completely against my will. My drill sergeants that were in my platoon like fought for me to stay. Even, you know, like our first sergeant, he was like, "Hey, are you sure this is something that you really want? Like, if you want to, you can stay on base and stay at like one of the local hospitals until you get better," or something like that. And that, to me, I was just like, I don't want to be stuck here any longer than I need to.
Right.
And so I guess I partially could blame it on myself for saying that I didn't want to stay any longer than I needed to. I was the one who accepted it and was like, okay, if you guys are sending me home, then send me home. You know, don't drag it out any longer than you need to. But I mean, I wouldn't. I learned a lot. None of it I can use in the practical world, or very little of it I can use in the practical civilian market. But I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right. Well, I mean, some of the skills are applicable, right? I mean, there are a lot of people I know, certainly in there were in game development, there were a lot of ex-military people in game development who seem to be good at getting shit done.
Yeah. It definitely. I've always been a very detail-oriented person. And holding leadership position, like I was a squad leader, I was a platoon leader, going through basic training and stuff like that. Holding those positions just kind of seemed to amplify skills that I already had, but on a bigger level, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like for more serious purposes. And those I feel like I still very much have today. You know, it's like after I got out of the military, that stuff just didn't suddenly go away. It's something I think about every day of my life.
Right. Right. Well, I'm sorry that you didn't get to, that it wasn't your turn. Well, I guess it was kind of your terms, right? Ultimately you chose to leave, but it seems like it was kind of.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, yes and no. It was for medical purposes. But part of me, it ultimately was my final decision. Even though I didn't want it to happen, I also didn't want to have it be dragged out longer than it needed to be. And if I had gone the route that I did and I said, yeah, okay, I'll stay here until I get better and feel like I'm physically able enough to, go on to my job training, my AIT, it would have probably taken like half a year, probably longer. Because I went to Fort Sill for basic, and I was at Fort Sill for 4 months. So and my job training school was like another 3 or 4.
So, okay, so let me. Do you think that? I mean, you look back on this as something that it's unfortunate it happened the way that it did, but you carry the experience with you, and even if so, I mean, this is something you list on your CV, right? I mean, it's not like right. This is something that you have on your resume that you.
Yeah.
Right.
I have all my paper. If they like, I've had employers ask me before, like, okay, do you have a way to back this up? And I said, yeah, I can bring in my DD-214 paperwork if you want me to. And you're just going to have to go through a big fat vanilla envelope that's like bigger than a book,
Oh boy. So how are you? So you lost, then the void job collapsed, right? That collapsed. What have you been doing, or have you been able to find other work? Have you been government trying to get by on the stimulus checks? How is that going?
So I haven't been able to get work. I have been on unemployment, luckily. And luckily, when we first went into furlough, my job was still paying me. even though
Oh,
we
is that
weren't
technically a
working.
furlough then? If they're paying you, is that?
That's what they called it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't. For some
Um,
reason, I thought if you're furloughed, you're not getting paid, but I don't know what the.
so, from what I understand, there's two different versions because I have friends who were furloughed from jobs who weren't getting paid, but like I have friends who work at Disney who got furloughed and they were paid for,
Yeah,
a
it's
couple of months.
probably just varies from company to company. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Did does the fact that it's been difficult to find work, has that tempted you at all to reenlist? Like, is
No,
that even something?
definitely not.
Definitely not. Okay.
Especially in today's political climate. No, not at all.
Right. Right.
I would not want to be in that sort of environment at all.
But I mean, you do. So you were working guest experiences, right, at the Void, right?
Yeah.
You live in Orlando, where, it's the perennial tourist town, right? I mean, that is, and you have military experience. I would think once shit stabilizes a bit, that it maybe wouldn't be difficult for you to find work where you are, in
Yeah.
a somewhat related sort of area, right? If it means working for the mouse, it means working for the mouse. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But man, that's rough. Yeah, I'm sorry for being glib about living in Orlando.
Oh, it's totally understandable.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy my time there. I can say that I liked the job that I had. There were a couple of game development houses in Orlando when I was there. One of them was EA. Tiburon's EA was their sports arm. Is where they were doing all the big Electronic Arts sports games.
I'm
And then
pretty
the one
sure I've seen their offices. They're
I think
closer
they're
to
still
the
there.
Sanford area. Yeah, but there's a tiki bar that I go to that's in Sanford, and the highway that we take to get there, the EA building is off to the side, and I always notice it
Oh,
and
there
point
you
it out.
go. See, I know Sanford because whenever I would take the car train, auto train, that's where
Yeah.
you board. That's where you board the auto train.
Yep.
So I know Sanford too. And also there was a police shooting there where they killed a 12-year-old boy. And I'm ashamed that his name is escaping me. Michael. No, it's not Michael Ferguson, is it? Who am I thinking of? Hold on here. Wait, was that me? Trayvon Martin. Yeah, it was Trayvon
Did that
Martin.
happen in Sanford?
Yeah. Sanford, Florida. That's
Jesus.
where George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. Yeah. Yeah. Can't believe I forgot that. But yeah. So there's Florida has lots of cities that are like kind of infamous more than famous.
Yeah. I mean,
You've lived your whole life in or around Orlando?
yeah, so I was born in the Tampa area and I've lived in Florida my entire life. I used to live over in Tampa and then I moved here to Orlando.
I remember liking Tampa. I remember liking Ybor City. I don't know if that is still a thing.
It is, but unfortunately, over the years, the mayor of Tampa has very much tried to modernize it. So a lot of the old historical buildings have been sort of left to decay.
I'm surprised. It was
One of the
charming.
old cigar factories, um, there's two. One of them is still open as a cigar factory, and the other one was shut down and turned into like a modern, trendy apartment building.
Well, that's terrible. That's horrible to hear.
On par, though.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know much about Tampa apart from when I would go there. I would go to Ybor City. That's about all I know. So, Nick, is there anything you wanted to ask or talk about, or anything in particular you want? I commiserate with you on the troubles that you're having. You're living with your girlfriend. You and your girlfriend live together.
Yeah, we're doing fine though. We're comfortable. We're not too worried about finances. She's able to work from home. So ever since, the pandemic started, we've actually been relatively okay, all things considered.
Not nobody infected. Your family's been okay.
My mom and my little sister caught it. My little sister is a diabetic, and she
Oh.
caught the flu, actually, like standard flu, had to go to the hospital.
Oh God.
And when my mom took her to the hospital, they caught it at the hospital.
They both caught it at the same
Yeah.
by taking her to the hospital because she had the flu.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's terrible.
But I mean, they're doing okay now. So thankful for that.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Is there anything you wanted to ask or talk about, or anything you got? Let me ask you, how long have you been? How long? Well, if you have something, you go first.
Oh no, you go first.
I'm just curious. How you found this stream?
So I discovered your channel like a year or two ago. I don't even remember what the first video was because I've seen so many of them, honestly.
Tell me all about it.
Yes, let me brag to you about how amazing your channel is. Like I said, I kind of lost track of like what the first one that I watched was, and it just went to a subsequent downslope of just watching all of them multiple times. And
that's a good way to characterize it. You went into a decline of watching.
Yeah, or there was a snowball effect of me just binge watching, playlists. And it wasn't, like I don't watch ASMR videos because it like gives me tingles or whatever. It's some of them I do find soothing and relaxing, but a lot of them I watch because it's like interesting to see the set design, like your set design, for example. I always find like phenomenal. Like the lighthouse video, the subject matter, that's like something that I always find really cool. The Joker video, all that kind of stuff. But when you first started live streaming, I watched like maybe the first two, and then I mean, not for any particular reason, I just never like kept up with the time schedule to watch.
I didn't have I didn't even have a schedule. I was just kind of doing it when I wanted. I really went about it the wrong way, I think. But live and learn, right? That's.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who are. I mean, you're still figuring it out. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
But in the later parts of the quarantine, I thought, I know so many people who are doing live streams on like YouTube or Twitch or, some sort of podcast or something like that. I need to start. This entire time, I've never really been involved in them. I need to start being more involved, no matter who it is. If it's a close personal friend of mine, if it's someone like you who I've always watched your videos, but like we've never interacted before or anything like that. I feel like I want to get more involved by watching more, being in chats, interacting with the chat, stuff like that.
That's interesting that you say that, because I mean that obviously works both ways, right? Like I am getting from this something that if I were not able to do this, I would be in a much worse place than I am. Which I mean, I'm like I don't know how well I cover it up, but definitely like not generally from day to day not doing so great, right? But doing this is definitely the highlight of my week, because I get to like talk to people, and like people who are, some of them are think that some of the stuff that I do is kind of cool, and that's really nice. And and even if they don't, like just being able to hear different opinions and being able to see like the life that the chat has sort of taken that has absolutely nothing to do with me. It just happens to be these people that are sort of, and most of them I know, if I don't know by name, I know by avatar, and like I know by the level of snark, or I can tell like, well, this person's gonna definitely chime in on this, and it's sort of great to see that sort of that community. And that's something that is, it's sorely missing now more than ever. So I get more out of it than anybody does. Thank you for participating and for sticking around and for calling, because I know maybe you've done this, and it's not like there's only 30 or 40 people, and so it's not like a lot of people, but it still can be intimidating and a pain to do. But your work was kind of interacting with people, so probably,
I used to be, when I was like, when you're a kid, you kind of have like stage fright or whatever. I used to be a shy kid, but over the years I've completely have grown out of that. I don't mind talking. If there were 30, 40 people in the chat, or 5,000 people in the chat, it wouldn't really matter to me.
That's super sweet. Well, it'll be a few more months before there's 5,000 people in the chat. Actually, the number has like plateaued, which, and I'm fine with it. Like, as long as it doesn't decline, I am good with it just being the way it is, because I like it the way it is now. I'm comfortable with it. If there were too many people, I probably would start to be like, it's not that I would be like afraid, but I would start to be like, well, I don't want to take many chances, because I think I would start playing it safe. And it might not be as enjoyable for me as a
You'd
result.
Start tightening the grips a little bit more, have more people be mods, start to monitor the chat. It'd be like taking a lot more on your plate.
Yeah. Oh, Nick, it's been great talking to you. I appreciate it, and
it's been a pleasure.
I hope that you can find work soon if you need to, or if you're not, in a place where you really need to. I hope you're able to spend this time productively, or feel, as long as you feel good, that's really all that matters. The relationship is solid, hopefully. I'm guessing there, but if you can deal with the heat and the sort of landlocked heat bowl that is Orlando, then more power to you.
It's funny you mentioned that, because even though I was born and raised in Florida, that is one of the things that I cannot stand. All of my family is from up north, and I hate the heat so much. It is just unbearable.
I hate the cold and I hate the heat. There is only like a really narrow bandwidth of temperatures where I'm comfortable. But I will say that if I had to pick, like if I was indoors and I had to pick a temperature that I had to deal with that I didn't like, I would rather deal with heat, because you can heat a house all you want, and if it's freezing outside, the walls are still going to be cold. The fixtures are still going to be cold. The bathtub's still going to be cold. They're going to be cold drafts coming in that you're just not, and you're still going to know. And when you turn the heat up, it dries out your nasal passages, and I get nosebleeds and all kinds of stuff from turning up heat that you don't get from air conditioning. That, like, I remember, just turning the air conditioning as high as it would go all the time, and it would be like 65 degrees inside, probably horribly contributing to climate change and stuff, but it would be 93 degrees outside and 66 degrees inside, and I had no problem with that at all, if that's any comfort to you.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It can, if it's like 110 or feels like 110 outside, I'm the kind of person who will be like, yeah, let's make it 24.
All right, Nick. Well, I will see you in the chat, and thank you again for calling. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Conversation. Take care. All right.
See you, man.
Okay. That was great. I really enjoyed that. All of those chats. So now, I'm not going to take any more calls tonight. However, Michael, I saw that you were on deck, next in line, and Jessica Graves was next too. So I haven't forgotten your places. I think I saw that Skilgrim said that you had mailed in. I don't see that. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I didn't get anything from you, Skilgrim. Wait, let me check my junk mail. Maybe it went in there for some reason. No. I don't know. I don't know if what happened there, but I will make a note of that so that if y'all are around for the next stream, Michael, Jessica, and Skilgrim, you'll have preferential selection. Yeah, I think maybe you did, because yeah, I don't see anything there, even in my trash. So it's a new 4 years, and I'm sure. So now, of course, I recognize Nick now. It's the avatar. I need the avatar. That's what it is. No, you don't want a Benedict Cumberbatch ASMR? I would prefer a Jeremy Brett, personally. Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking about, okay, I don't really have like a lot of ideas or motivation to do ASMR videos right now, so I'm definitely looking for ideas. If anybody has them, call them out. Let me know. Let's see here. No, that's that. Don't forget to subscribe. That's that. This. Sorry, I had to do that for a second. I only did it for a second. That's all. Oh, Václav is reminding me. Oh, Q, that is so sweet. Well, doing them has made my life a little more bearable. So, thank you also. This is Václav. This is not a bad idea, and I actually wanted to double down on my encouraging people to, yes, colorful dreams, you're shouting. Soma, definitely top 20 games ever. I wonder, I mean, it would be fairly easy to do an ASMR of it. I'd want to get an angle on it. Probably some angle with the transference, the mind transference aspect of it. But I'd want to, maybe do that in an interesting way. My focus is a little off here, but I'd want to do that in an interesting way, where maybe, I don't know, I have to think about it. You could be occupying different bodies, but I'd want that occupation to have some significance and work somehow towards some greater story goal. So I'd have to think that through a little bit. But I do really, really like the idea of doing a Soma ASMR. I guess my only other resistance to it is that one might be tough to do a practical set for. That might require a green screen, which, I don't love green screens. However, I have to say, like, seeing the way Atmosphere and Atlas ASMR, the way they have done green screen work, I'm fine with green screen work of that quality. I just don't want to do green screen work where it's just obvious that it's a green screen. It's just like a flat thing behind you, and you can never get the color as good. Like it kind of sucks some of the, when you suck the green out, it sucks some of the tone from from flesh tones, and it's just it's a pain in the butt to get it to look good. And I just enjoy building practical sets and seeing what I can do for very little. For the Tenet the one I just did, the Tenet ASMR video, I swear if you all saw the how crappy that set looks from any other, like if you move the camera at all, the illusion just falls apart completely. So I was very pleased that I was able to get that to look pretty decent. Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm kind of in front of it, and it's just for this stream because of Inauguration Day, all that stuff. So no, I don't. I think you were too busy staring into my eyes. Crikey. That realization when you pull your skin and let go of it, and you see that delay that didn't used to be there. Shit used to snap right back, and now it just kind of slowly molds back. Where's the snap? The snap is gone. Well, I loved doing this with you all. I think I'm probably going to sign off because, I feel like we did what we intended. Been 3 hours. Yeah, exactly, Nasher, right? This is what gave me this, was being a frustrated child and just constantly being like this. Thank you so much, Graces Grove, for pointing that out. Yeah, I really want this year to be positive. There's a lot going on that, I mean, I feel like I should be sort of thankful for or grateful for. And yet the things that are like really important to me, I'm not happy. And so, that's a tough thing to address. But I'm gonna do my best, and I hope you all do your best. Because I just assume everyone is depressed, because that's my default position. So I always assume people who make ASMR are depressed. I think that's a fairly safe assumption to make for most people. But anyway, thank you all for coming again. I still am shocked every time I hit go live, and this is the 23rd episode of these. So I'm shocked every time I hit live and there are actually people there on the other side. Next week, no idea what we're going to be talking about, but yeah, I hope Pavi, I would love to talk to Pavi, but if Pavi doesn't want to talk, then that's fine. Pavi can stay in chat. I would hate for someone to feel like driven out of chat or whatever because of pressure to be on video when they don't want to be. So yeah, and I mean, everyone here has always been so kind to everybody else that I'm not really worried about that. But so hopefully Poppy was not upset. I'm sure. Hopefully not. Oh yeah, that would be great, Nick. Yeah, let's not lose that thread. Yeah, collagen. My collagen going away. I need to microneedle. I need to encourage. I need to talk to my ex-wife. See what can be done. She can microneedle and freeze the fat and get rid of all the spots and Botox my thing. Oh boy, Nasha. This is when you know things are going off the rails. See what Nasha's writing now. All right, I love you all, and thank you very much for showing up. And next week, episode 24. No idea what it's going to be, but I'll figure something out between now and then. Sleep well, and 2021, this is the year. It's all going to happen. But look, I didn't use this thing enough. I did show it like once, but here we go. Hey, this is the mix pre. This is where the sound's going through. This is my Black Magic monitor that shows what's set up to go live, not what's actually live. And then over here, although you can't really see it, you can see here is the window with all your comments going by. And then here's the window that shows what's actually being displayed. So, and here's the hardware switcher. Showing all my secrets here. Hardware switcher, mixer. Here's the little thing there I can hit all my buttons to make the subscribe button show up, but I can't do it unless I'm in the right scene, which I'm not in the right scene now. Oh wait, I am. There we go. Yeah. Subscribe. Can show the... Hey. Work you. Can show that. And then, of course, you all know this camera. This is like the glamour camera. 'Cause it hides some of my less appealing features. Anyway. Oh, look at that. A new saying, get a real keyboard. Oh, what? You mean a real keyboard? You mean like this? Like a real mechanical keyboard with Cherry MX keys. It's true, I can't stand the Macintosh keyboards. But man, I love this keyboard. All right. Talk to you all soon, and be good. Or don't. Steal some stuff, but don't get caught. If you steal stuff, it is a vortex. VTG 8200. It is a vortex, yes. So yeah, if you steal something, don't get caught. If you don't steal something, don't get caught. The key is don't get caught. All right. Talk to you all later. Good night.